Good evening, everyone. To the honor of Rabbi Nisanyan and the Yortzeit of his son, I was here a year ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no coincidence. I told my guy, since I did not give any lecture this year yet, just post any old lecture on the website. From 1,500 lectures, he picked up the lecture that I was here last year. From 1,500 lectures. I saw today he posted it, Rabbi Nisanyan and I standing, that's the picture. And I said to myself, what a nice thing from Hashem. A year ago I was here, today I'm coming here, that's the lecture he picked. I didn't tell him which one to choose. You can see. So tomorrow you will see 2 lectures at the same place. It's not a mistake. So that's the first lecture of the year. It's your Sukkot, and Baruch Hashem, I'm happy it's full here. We decided to speak about Sukkot. In general, the idea of Sukkot, what does it mean in this generation, in this world? What is behind this mitzvah? We know that we have in the Torah 3 regalim, 3 festivals: Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. Sukkot really should have been in the time of Pesach, together with Pesach, because it's the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. The exodus of Egypt was in the spring, in the Aviv. Hashem wanted Pesach to be always in the spring. The Midrash says that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu the secrets of the calendar. There's few secrets in a calendar. How to make leap years, how to make full months, short months, one day shorter, one day longer, and how to overcome the difference between the year of the moon and the year of the sun, which is 11 days and few hours difference every year. The year of the sun is 365 days. The year of the moon is 354 days, which means every 3 years, it's 33 days difference in the calendar, which creates the seasons. The seasons are moving. The holidays are moving from one season to another. So if you do not know how to overcome this physical problem between the movement of Earth, the sun, and the moon, Earth-Moon system, in that case, Passover every few years, every 9 years, he would move a season. Every 9 years, approximately 3 months. That's a season, 3 months. Which means after 18 years, it will move from summer to winter. One time you sit and sweat, the next time you freeze in a sukkah, snowing. But that would create a problem. What problem it creates? That the Torah has one word. And look at the power of one word in the Torah, how much you have to move in the world, that one word in the Torah will not be a mistake ever. You have to shake the whole creation for one word. What is it? Pesach, Chag Aviv, the holiday of the spring. If Hashem did not write it, no problem. Pesach can be any time you want. Because it says in the Torah, Pesach, it has another name, Chag Aviv, the holiday of the spring, and if it would fall in the winter, that would be the first mistake in the history of the Torah. Mistake in the Torah, that means it's not from Hashem, because Hashem doesn't make mistake. Hashem called it Chag Aviv, it must be Chag Aviv. But Hashem knew how He created the world, and He knew that if you do not teach Moshe the secret how to balance the years and the months, that's exactly what's going to happen. So now we go to the oral Torah. We're going to the oral Torah, And the Midrash says like this, באותה שעה, at that time, הראה לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה רבנו, השם שוד משה רבנו, איך יהיה מעבר שנים ומחשב חשבונות חוקות ירח. How is he gonna do the calculation of the cycle of the moon and the cycle of the sun, etc. And he told him that every 18 years period, you have to add to the calendar 9 more months, which means every 2 to 3 years, you're pushing extra month into the calendar, what we call Adar Bet, which will always balance Pesach to fall around April, always, more or less, 2 weeks in front, 2 weeks behind, but it always will fall in the same time, which will be the spring. Why? Because it was very important to Hashem that we will celebrate Pesach exactly as it was in the moment of the Exodus of Egypt. In that case, why he did not push the Sukkot into Pesach and made Passover and Leil HaSeder in the Sukkah, that will be perfect. Why now, all of a sudden now, Sukkot? Sukkot usually is the first rain in Israel. As a kid, I remember every year in the Sukkah, it was the first rain in Israel. Every year. Plus, we have something very interesting when we're comparing between Sukkot and Pesach. You know, in Pesach we came from slavery to freedom. Mishiibut legeula. We were slaves and we became free. Okay. But Hashem did not call Pesach Zman Simchatenu, the time of our happiness. If you see in the Tfilot, the prayers of Sukkot and the prayers of Pesach and the prayers of Shavuot, it's different words. Every word is Olam Umlo. It's a big difference. It's not coincidence. One time it's like this and it's a little bit different. No. They're not dealing with the people in our days. That one day they wake up on the left side, so they write one word. Tomorrow on the right side, they change the words based on their mood. No. Chazal, they are precise just as your computer is. You know, computer will never make mistake. 2 times 3, the computer will always answer 6. Right? Now you put 2 times 3 equal. Before you press equal, would you put $1 million that will be 6 or no? I would put if I had. Why? What's the chance the computer will make mistake? Chazal, our sages, were just as precise as this. In their brilliance and knowledge and full control of the Torah, every word is measured. Almost like Hashem. Not like Hashem, but chasreu me'at me'elokim. Almost like Hashem. Hashem say, they're almost like me. I gave them almost everything, a little bit less. But Moshe Rabbeinu and all the Chachamim, a little bit less. Okay. So it says like this. Sukkot, when a person has to leave his comfortable mansion after he spent $30 million and moved everything 500 times from one room to the other and changed the decoration 15 times, 20 years he lives in a house, he's still decorating. Still didn't make up his mind what decoration the new mansion would have. You think I'm joking? I know a family like this. Been going there for years for family issues. And already years since they bought their $20 million mansion on the water and spent $8 million on decoration, when I saw how they bought the house, it looked better than any catalog that you can find, the way they bought it. But so about 5 years that they decorating the house, already spent $8 million, and now they're thinking how they have to start all over from the beginning. Understand? There's people in this world, that's what they do. So you have to leave such a house and sit in a sukkah like this, you know? And dafka that, it's called the time of our happiness. How can it be? You take a person and say, hey, Mr. X.
Take off the phone, everybody.
I say that a year ago exactly right here. Exactly. Exactly 5 minutes after I started to speak, the phone rang. Don't believe me? Check. It's already ready for you. You go tomorrow and you see if I'm right or wrong. 5 minutes into the lecture, the phone rang. 10 minutes into the lecture, the phone rang again. And I say to that person, you should have learned from the first one. Right? You remember, Rabbi, or no? That's what life is all about. A clever person learns from other people's mistake. It doesn't wait until it hits him. If you see something went wrong, you learn right away. If a person drives on a highway and you see an accident, why Hashem drove you to this direction and made you see this accident? To teach you that you have to improve your driving. It could have been you, chas v'shalom. Smart person, slow down right away. Oh, it's a wake-up call. A fool, speed more. Right? It doesn't apply to me. That's what it is. So it says like this. In Sukkot, when we leave our fancy home, or even this tiny apartment is considered, compared to the Sukkah, it's still fancy, and we go into, a woodshed, and the Torah calls it Zman Simchatenu, the time of our happiness. What about Shavuot? How the Torah defines Shavuot? Also, V'samachta lifnei Hashem Elokecha. Different kind of simcha. One time it says Zman Simchatenu, and in Shavuot it says V'samachta lifnei Hashem Elokecha. You'll be happy in front of your God. במקום אשר יבחר השם אלוקיך לשכן שמו שם. In a place where Hashem will choose to put his name there, which means in a future Bet HaMikdash. 3 times in the Torah it says במקום אשר יבחר השם אלוקיך לשכן שמו שם. 3 different places in the Torah. Rambam asks, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't just say in Har HaMoriah? Why? We already have in tradition from Avraham Avinu, the Akedat Yitzchak was in the mountain over there. The dream of Yaakov Avinu was in the mountain. Yaakov already said when he woke up from his dream, when he saw the angels going up and down in a ladder, wow, ma nora makom hazeh ze sha'ar hashamayim. How horrified is this place, holy. This is the gate to heaven. There was already enough indication in Jewish tradition that that's the holiest place in the world. But why Hashem insists not to write it in the Torah until we move to Israel? Technically, that's where they found out where it's going to be. It didn't say in the Torah the location. It doesn't say. It said the location of Me'arat HaMachpelah, what Avraham bought from Ephron Achiti. It said the location of Yosef, his grave. It said different locations. The most important place in the world, it doesn't say the location. Why? Why is it? Did you ever think, what was the big secret? Hashem did not want to write the location of Bet HaMikdash. Even though they knew it. Moshe knew it. The Jews knew it. It was obvious. The answer is, because if the 7 nations of Goyim that sits in Israel, preparing for the Jews to come kick them out from the Holy Land, as Rachav said to Yoshua and the spies, we heard what your God did to you in Egypt. Everyone here is shaking from fear. Let's make a deal. I'll hide you and you protect my family. How did she hear? There was no CNN. How did she know? The whole world was shaking from what Hashem did to the nation of Israel. When Hashem does something, He makes sure everyone would know it without the media and the internet. He has His ways. So everyone was prepared when the nation of Israel will come and kick us out of here. So if they knew in advance that the Jews just received the Torah in the desert, and in the Torah, remember the Torah was translated to 70 different languages right away in the first generation, from one language to another. The Goyim would know where Bet HaMikdash is supposed to be built. What do you think the 7 empires would do? They would gather the entire mountain, million soldiers with horses, massive weapon, everything they can. There was no chemical weapon yet, no Assad. There's no Assad yet. And no Mahmoud and all the other ones. There was bow and arrow and some horses and spears. But still, 1 million soldiers compared to 600,000 men. And now, 600,000 men, not everyone is a soldier. Some of them 60 years old, they can fight. So how many can fight? 100,000. Compared to 1,000,000 well-armed soldiers, Hashem would have to make such a miracle that nothing like this ever happened. Why? To alert them, to give the enemy information. Hashem doesn't want to be their spy and give them the location of Bet HaMikdash, because they all know that that's the only reason the Jews coming to Israel, to build Bet HaMikdash and to connect to Hashem through Har HaBechira. So Hashem didn't say. So in Shavuot he said, "V'amakom asher yivchar leshaken et shmo sham," you have to be happy in front of Hashem. Then it says, in Sukkot, the happiness comes from the actual holiday. In Shavuot, it's not because of the holiday. It's because of something else. It's Bet HaMikdash. But Sukkot, the actual holiday, caused the happiness. What? Where is the happiness? Who wants to leave his fancy, nice mattress and to move into the sukkah? Hot, cold, all, even though if it's too hot or too cold, then you cannot be in a sukkah. It's mitztaer patur in a sukkah. But even a little bit, it's fine. It's not ideal like in a house. The Torah says, "Ve'ayita ach sameach." You should be only happy. So we have to understand what caused this happiness that the Torah is speaking about. The Gemara says, "Mi shelo ra'a et simchat bet hashoeva," someone who did not see the happiness of Sukkot, how people were happy in Yerushalayim, more than Pesach, more than Shavuot. Shavuot, Chag Matan Torah. The time we received the Torah, what can be happier than this? We turned into a nation. We became officially the chosen people. Like Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Hayom hazeh niyeta le'am." Today you became a nation. What do you mean? We were not a nation before? Yeah, you were worthless. Without Torah, you're just like the Armenians and the Seljukim and the Turkish and the whoever. Nothing significant. Now you became a holy nation. There's a nation and there's a holy nation. A nation, big deal. There's thousands of them. The chosen nation. Why? One Congress member, she came to Israel on a political visit. And it fell in Simchat Torah. Right now, the end of Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, second day, everyone will be dancing in the Torah. So in Israel, it's not like here. You don't have 2 days Yom Tov. So they're really actually dancing already, when over here it's beginning of second day. In Israel, they go on the street with cars, with music, microphone. People dance. So she looked, she saw people dancing, holding the Torah. So she asked the Israeli politician, "What are they doing, these people? What is this they're holding in their hand?" So they said, "This is the book of law that God gave us." So she said, "I never saw in America anyone holds the Constitution and dance around it. Everyone step over it. Over here they worship the Constitution." I don't know if this genius politician that was with her in a car, if he knew to answer it, there is a Constitution and there is a Constitution. Depends where it came from. Now, there's something else. In Pesach, there is a special mitzvah. What is it? Korban Pesach. Sacrifice of the Pesach goat. There's 2 different kinds of Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach of Egypt, first year that they came out of Egypt. It's called Pesach Mitzrayim. And Pesach Ledorot. And Korban Pesach from now on. What's the difference? There's some differences. The first year, when it happened officially, Hashem told the Jews, tie the goat to the bed 4 days before. Check the animal that doesn't have birth defect, no broken bones, nothing is cut, no missing organs. Prepare it for the time that you come out of Mitzrayim. Al matzot umerorim tochlu. You have to eat it combined with matzah and maror. Okay. So 4 days before, the Egyptians see that their gods, the sheep was their gods, the Jews are tying it to their beds. Drives them crazy. What are you doing to our God? So he kicked the God. He said, "Be quiet." And then Mustafa came and said, "What are you doing to my God?" That's exactly how it was. It sounds like a joke. They went crazy. They were holy. Like imagine in India, let's see you walking in India and kick a cow on the street. Know what would happen to you? 5,000 Indians would scream and run. I don't want to tell you what would happen. If you kick a cow on the street, if a cow wants to cross the street, 5 hours traffic in India. Nobody dares to push it. Cow is holy. That's what they say. So imagine now in Egypt, same idea. They worship the Niles and they worship the sheep. So Hashem said, tie their God to the bed, and when they ask you, what are you going to do it? Tell them we're going to slaughter it and eat it shish kebab with hummus. They went crazy, you know. But that was only the first year. That's it. After that, you have nothing to do with Egypt. Hashem said, Lo tashuv lirotam. You have no permission to return there, bichlal, to Egypt. That reminds me, one time, 15 years ago, I used to give lectures in real estate offices here. I had one friend, he was working in one of the offices here in Jamaica Avenue. They say, come, bring your stuff. And none of the people here are religious. All Israeli guys and girls, all of them Chilonim, about 30, 35, all working in this office. You come every Friday, you give lectures here. I went there a few Fridays. Baruch Hashem, the office started to keep mitzvot. They started to do mincha arvit, tefillin. This guy left the Goya. The office becoming a shul slowly. You know. Then we made a Shabbat in my house in Monsey. We invited we invited them to come. So we speak on Friday night, long table, lots of guys and girls. We give divrei Torah. We make them now Shomrei Shabbat to see what Shabbat, first Shabbat they do in their life. So there was one girl, you know, from the university, high class. So she enjoyed. First of all, it was very difficult to convince her to come. Finally, she came. So we see it for about 2-3 hours. She enjoyed the meal very much, until I made the mistake of my life. And I say something in the name of Rav Ovadia Yosef, the chief Sephardi rabbi of Israel, or maybe the biggest rabbi in the world. So I say to her, you know, something in the name of Rav Ovadia Yosef, almost her eyes came out. She went like this. She was so brainwashed from the media in Israel. This is your hero? So I looked at her and said, what's the problem? So she said, wow, I thought you're an intelligent guy. You speak science, proofs. So you're one of them. So right away I realized, in life you have to be clever. You cannot only be right, you have to be clever. Sometimes you're right and you're foolish. Sometimes you're wrong and you're smart. You have to know what to say where. So what did I do? I said to her, Hashem helped me to get out of the situation in an amazing way. I told her, let me ask you a question. You should see how her face became sour. So I said to her, who is the greatest secular Jew in your eyes? Look at the Ashgacha of Hashem, what happened here now. So she thought, she say, a Professor Aaron Barak. Aaron Barak, the chief judge of the Supreme Court of Israel, teaching law in Harvard, famous law scholar all over the world perhaps. And he was in control of the Israeli court. And he's also controlling the government, because in Israel the court is above the government, believe it or not. Like today, the government took 2,000 immigrants who come from Sudan, black immigrants from Sudan, most of them Muslims, haters of Israel. They smuggle into Israel. They come in and they try to find a job. Israel is full of them. Not that there is extra jobs. There's no jobs as it is. The little jobs that they have over there, they take everything. Plus, it's full of drugs, some alcohol, some prostitution, some murders. They already murder people. They butcher them to pieces. It's horrible what's happening. In Israel, in the old bus central station, nobody can walk. It's full of them. They cannot walk. In Israel, they cannot walk there. It's 99% chance to get killed there from what's happening there at night. So the Israeli government realized, if we're not going to do something, in 5 years, this country is over. What the Arabs didn't do 3,000 years, these ones will do in months. So they put them all in prison. You go into Israel illegally, we catch you, put you in prison. But of course, the liberal Jews that always destroying us, always, no matter what, always, they are the reason for all the problems. They decided today, or they call bagats, should call them baguettes, not bagats. Bagat, they say today, it's not human rights to keep them in prison. You have to release them within 60 days. You understand? Knowing it's destroying our own country, they try to be liberal, and we all, chas v'shalom, you know where we're going to go with this liberalism. So anyway, so I told her, who is your hero? She said, Professor Aaron Barak. So I said to her, let me ask you a question. If I go to Professor Barak, which is a judge, and I ask him, Reuven and Shimon has a big fight about the fence who collapsed between their property. Who's going to pay for it? Who invested in it? To what side the fence fell? How they going to split the damage? Who's supposed to pay for it? Half and half? Only one of them? None of them? What's going to be? The law. So will he be able to answer me all the answers about these particular questions that took place in all over the courts, all over the world in the last 1,000 years, everything by heart? So she looks at me, she says, why are you supposed to know all this by heart? You have an archive, you pull it out, and you have all the history of the court. Well, you need to know it by heart. If he has a question, he goes to the archives and he goes by subject, and today it's all computerized. So I said, but assume I ask him, can you tell me all the cases about two neighbors who fight about the border between them? All the cases in all the courts, all over the world, what was the verdict of each judge, in what date, where, what city, all over the world, will be able to know? She told me, no, it's not human. It's unable to tell you. So I told her, come. She's sitting on the other side of I say, come. There's a library next to me, full of books. So I told her, you see this series of books? Pull one of them out. So she pulled one book out. I say, open it anywhere you want. So she opened. What books I show her? It was the books of Rav Ovadia Yosef, Yechaveh Da'at. A series of books, questions and answers. Now it says in the front, this was given, this when Rabbi Ovadia was in his 50s, about 40 years ago. In Israel there was 1 or 2 radio stations, that's it. No television, no nothing. Hashem wrote in the Torah, Am Kshe Oref. Why? Because of that it's happening. Now the Satan makes a party there. So it says like this. So I told her, open. She opened. I said to her, you see, this was Rabbi Ovadia Yosef sitting in a studio of the radio live. And people were calling on the phone. He didn't know the questions in advance. And asking the hardest questions in the Torah live. Without preparation. And he was answering live. And they recorded the shows. And later they printed it in the books. And the host, every few minutes, he say, ladies and gentlemen, I want everyone to understand this is a live show. And the rabbi is sitting here in the studio. He doesn't have books. And everyone can call and ask any question. It's with no preparations. And people were calling for years. And they recorded everything. And they made it into books. So I said to her, let's count now. How long is the answer that he gave? She opened. Why I remember that now in the middle of a lecture of Sukkot? Because she opened exactly, is a Jew allowed to return back to Egypt or no? Why? Supposedly Israel made peace, one of these phony nonsense peace with Egypt. And Anwar Sadat was the king. So it's like Obama thinking now we reach an agreement with Putin about Assad when all the chemical weapon is already 2 weeks ago already by the Hezbollah's end. They're all making a show for the world. Obama tried to come down from the tree. He climbed too high. Putin is really the head of the mafia in this world. And Assad, he does whatever he wants. He's not afraid of anything. They do what they want to do, not like us. Obama pick his nose, 500 Israeli in the Knesset for 3 days don't sleep. Wow, we don't want to offend Obama. You know, so what happened? So she picked up, so the question was, if Jews are allowed to go to Egypt now to take picture of Sadat and the rest of the gang over there. So one of them was religious. So he asked the rabbi if I'm allowed to step in the land of Egypt. Since the Torah says, Lo tashuvu lirotam, you're not allowed to return back to Egypt. So he gave maybe 15 pages full answer. Maybe it took him 20 minutes because he filled up 15 pages. So I told her, let's count together, you and I, how many sources he gave to this question from the last 3,000 years, from the time of the Torah, and the Mishnah, and the Gemara, and the Rishonim, and the Achronim, until our days, how many sources he gave to one question, and there are thousands of questions here, and it was all live by heart. Let's count together. You ready? Every time you see parentheses, that's the source. That's showing you where he brought it from. So we started to count. 1, 3, 5, 10, 20. When we got to 50, as you see, there's 10 more pages. She said like this, I'll never forget this. One of the greatest moments I had in 18 years I speak, to see her face. She didn't know where to hide from the busha. She said like this, אני כל כך מתביישת. I'm so ashamed. I thought, wow, I don't know. She almost fainted from the busha, from the embarrassment. She thinks it's a primitive rabbi, has this turban on his head. Doesn't understand 5 billion over nonsense combined cannot reach 1% of his brilliance. Aaron Barak and all his friends. They are monkeys compared to him. It's like comparing a monkey to a professor in a university. And asking, who's smarter? The monkey also knows how many peanuts he takes every time. You know? So this is it. Then she became very religious. From time to time, I go to Costco to shop. I see her with 6, 7 religious kids from yeshiva, and I smile. I say, imagine if I wouldn't pull up that book, where would she be today? Secretary of a rabbi she became. She runs the show. This is what it's called, יש אדם קונה עולמו ברגע אחד. Sometimes one moment in life can change, not only your life, can change history. Who knows? In hundreds of years from now, what's going to come out of this lady? Who knows? It could be the new Mashiach comes out of her. Who knows? You don't know how far it travels. So we go back. So it says like this. The Gemara says like this. Chag Sukkot is different than Pesach. Also the way we behave to the Goyim, to the nations. In Pesach, we sacrifice the goat of Pesach, only Jews only. Zar lo yochal bo. Even a goy is in the process of converting cannot eat. Even a goy who had Brit Milah, he didn't go into the mikveh yet, cannot eat. If a Jew is tameh, is impure, cannot eat, cannot participate. And you have to count in advance, VIP. You don't just show, oh, come, tfadal, welcome, come, join us to the goat, to the barbecue. No. You have to write Moshe, Yitzchak, Avram. You write all the people, and every group already writes in advance who's going to participate. Mamash member club. Even between group to group, you don't change. Goyim, stay outside. Pesach, Sukkot, the other way around. You see, in the first day of Sukkot, in the Haftarah, you remember what I said. It's actually saying that Zachary 14, the most horrible prophecy in the Tanakh, the worst prophecy you can imagine, which describes basically almost the end of this world completely. There will be a massive war, billions of people will die, horrible situation in the world, 2/3 of the people will die in minutes. And their eyes of these goyim who come to attack Jerusalem, the prophet writes, their eyes will spill out of their holes like water. And they'll try to grab each other's arm and it will melt. There was nothing to grab. It's chemical, it's atomic, I don't know. It's definitely not conventional weapon here. After all this tragedy, there will be some Gentiles who left in the world, goyim, who, I know myself, few hundreds of righteous goyim. Very righteous. Fear God, love the Jews, supporting, donating, asking questions like Talmidei Yeshiva, goyim. The question they ask is in the level of Talmidei Yeshiva. You tell them, no, you go, you don't have to do it. You can go, you can eat, you can do. No, they ask 500 questions. Why? I know. If God says it's not good, how can I eat? No, for you it's allowed. No, he's trying to convince me why it's not allowed to do it. Here's Yirat Shamayim. Those are the goyim who will survive. They keep the 7 law and they're righteous and God loves them. They're nice people. Why not? What's going to be now? Okay, they survived now. The Jews who were not keeping the Torah and mitzvot are gone from the world. All the wicked Gentiles are gone from the world. The world is a cleaner place now. Only righteous Jews and righteous Gentiles. No, what now? Okay, 4 billion bodies, 4.5 billion bodies. Some people would be left in the world. Now it will be a period of cleaning them out, the prophet writes. Few years that Hashem is judging the people who survive to see if they really deserve to stay or not. And cleaning them like you clean the silver and the gold. No? And then what? Listen now. והיה כל הנותר מכל הגויים הבאים על ירושלים, the goyim who will be left after the clean out, ועלו מדי שנה בשנה להשתחוות למלך השם צבקות ולחגוג את חג הסוכות. They will have a new mitzvah, the goyim. What's the mitzvah? Every year you have to come to Yerushalayim and celebrate the holiday of Sukkot with the Jews. What is this? Now, especially according to Kabbalah, you're not allowed to bring goy into the sukkah. But why? It's a special thing, Zecher Liatzeat Mitzrayim, Ananei HaKavod, etc. But then, it will be a whole different world. They will come, and it says like this, והיה אשר לא יעלה מאת משפחות הארץ אל ירושלים, the goyim who will not go to Yerushalayim, for whatever reason, maybe they don't want, maybe it's far, maybe they don't feel good, I don't know what's their story, it's going to be. להשתחוות למלך השם, they will not come to bow down to Hashem in Yerushalayim, ואם משפחת מצרים לא תעלה ולא באה לו ולא עליהם, כן? ולא עליהם תהיה המגפה אשר יגוף השם את הגויים, אשר לא יעלו לחוג את חג הסוכות. It says, Hashem says, the Egyptians that will survive and did not come to celebrate the holiday of Sukkot, they won't have the epidemic. איזה מגפה? You know, in Egypt, there's no rain anyway. Where they get the water? From the Niles. The Nile goes up, there's lots of water coming up, they use it and they take it to all their fields. It's not a green country anyway, it's mostly desert. They don't count on rains. So Hashem didn't threaten them with rains. Anyway, they don't have rains, they're used to it. The other goyim, Hashem say, will stop the rain. They will not have rain, no water. But by them, it's a different kind of punishments because they not depend on the water. So what does it say? They will have an epidemic. Not stoppage of the rain, an epidemic, whatever it is, a virus, sickness. Why? That's righteous goyim. They survived all the tragedies in the world because they didn't want to come to Yerushalayim to celebrate the holiday of Sukkot. The question we have to ask, what really is the difference between Pesach, that no one is welcome, and Sukkot all of a sudden became a holiday, a universal holiday? Let's see some of the interesting things that will answer us this question. The Gemara says like this, La'atid lavo, it's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah, first page. You open the Gemara, Avodah Zarah, first page. Actually, on the left side of the page. Actually, on the right side of the page. First page. Actually, first page that you open is right there. It says like this, La'atid lavo, in the future to come, there's lots of secrets in it. Let's try to understand that first literally. Mevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu Sefer Torah. God will bring a Sefer Torah. Umanicho becheko. Like a person hold the Sefer Torah? Okay. Ve'omer, it's all metaphoric. Let's try to penetrate, to understand the secret here. Ve'omer, and he says, everyone who dealt with this Torah, שעסק בה, יבוא וייטול שכרו. Everyone who was connected to my Torah. He doesn't say everyone who was learning Torah. עסק בה, support the Torah, donate, paid money for the people to sit and learn Torah, build the yeshiva. There's lots of things involved with learning Torah. Of course, the highest level is to sit and learn yourself. But to be a partner with someone who learns is also a very big thing. And it says, מיד מתקבצים ובאים עקום בערבוביה. Nations from all over the world coming, goyim from every country. There will be such an event, the whole world will be shocked. Remember, this is in the days of Mashiach, resurrection of the dead. They come, the goyim, and they say, okay, we dealt with the Torah. So Hashem said to them, how exactly you dealt with my Torah? They said, we made markets, Wall Street, Japan, Nikkei, Israeli Bursa. We make markets. The Jews were making money. We computerized it. We made bridges. We made roads. We made lights. We built buildings. Without us, how would they be able to sit and learn Torah? Even the building where they sit, made in China, made in Taiwan, made in this, made in that. The suits they wear, made in Italy. How would you learn Torah without clothes? How would you learn Torah without a light bulb made in China? How you learn Torah without the tables made in China? How you learn Torah without being in New York? Yeah, getting food stamps, getting this, getting that, you know. What's going to be? We don't have a share in the Torah? What do you think? They have a point or no? By Hashem, it has to be right. Justice. No prejudice. It has to be right. Okay. אמר להם הקדוש ברוך הוא, Hashem would say to them, במה עסקתם? They say, we build שווקים, מרחצאות, we build the mikveh, we build, okay. כסף וזהב, we created the silver that they put on the Torah, we created the gold, no. And all of that we did for the nation of Israel. True or false? כדי שיתעסקו בתורה. Why do you think we did all that? Why do you think we made roads, we made trains, we made airplanes? Then the Jews can go to Israel, yeshivot, come back for the holidays to the family, go back again. Who made the planes? We did. אמר להם הקדוש ברוך הוא, שוטים שבעולם, you bunch of fools. כל מה שעשיתם לצורך עצמכם עשיתם. Everything you did for yourself. You made roads to collect tolls. 2,000 years ago. Much like this. You made bridges to collect tolls. You made markets for your own taxes. Rent, taxes. What you did for them? The question is now, why Hashem didn't tell them, you bunch of liars? That's the right expression that should be used here. They come, they say, everything we did for the Jews. Hashem should have said, oh yeah? 90% of you were praying morning and evening that the Jews will be killed. So you did for them to learn Torah? That's why you came from Rome to destroy Bet HaMikdash and you made a rule that they're not allowed to learn Torah? That's why the same thing the Babylon did, and the Greeks, and everyone else? What are you telling stories? But Hashem doesn't call them liars. He called them fools. Do you understand? Hashem is not us. We make mistakes. Hashem doesn't make mistakes. What does it have to do with fools? The opposite. They're clever. They try to be sneaky. We have to understand what's happening here. It says like this. Hashem didn't call them liars because everything they claim is true. How can it be true? Let me explain. It says like this. When these days will arrive, everything in the world will be clear. Nobody would care about Christianity nonsense and Islam and all these 80,000 religions and cults and all the lies in the world and the politics and Kochi ve'otzem yadi and the army and the foolish governments and all the liars. Everything will be exposed. Everyone will know who is God, what is the real religion, who is the real Mashiach. No more arguments. And the most important thing that all the world would know, that the whole purpose of this creation was for the children of God. Everything that happened in this world with 7 billion people have only one thing behind it. My children and the Torah. The nation of Israel and the Torah and Hashem. That's it. Nothing else matters. Remember, that's like the Zohar say, Hashem and the Kucha Berichu and the Torah and Israel, Chadhem. You cannot separate between God, the nation of Israel, and the Torah. It's all one. Can't separate it to three entities. The Zohar say, Kabbalah. So the Goyim will realize the whole purpose of this creation was only for the Jews to sit and learn Torah and to know the secrets of God and spread it to the world. So we actually now understand that actually we were here to serve them in their mission. Who gave us all this brilliance to make roads and buildings and everything we did? We are part of the creation as Hashem programmed us. Hashem pushed us to our purpose. So now they come and say, listen, we were an integral part of this entire factory. You cannot separate us from from this mission. Without us, it would never happen. So they come and say, pay us what we deserve. So it says like this. The Torah says, when these days would come, there's an expression, Umal'a haaretz de'ah. The world will be full of wisdom, but divine wisdom, not science, math, this kind of wisdom. Divine wisdom. Everyone will be like a prophet. Everything will be so clear. No more philosophical arguments. Philosophy will die. There will not be two philosophies anymore. One only, the real one of God. No arguments anymore. Even between the Jews. There's ideologies, arguments, what's the right way, this way, that way. Everyone will know everything that happened in the creation, what was behind it, for what purpose it was done. So, in that case, Hashem would come and say to the Goyim, yes, you're not lying. You really did everything for Israel, but not because you wanted, because I wanted. There's a difference. You're right. You come. That's why Hashem didn't tell them you're liars. Because whatever they say, it's really happened. Everything they did was for the nation of Israel. Do you know the story of the Mir Yeshiva? How they escaped from Europe to Shanghai? Do you know the story or no? There was one very wealthy Jew from Mishpachat Sassoon. They were Indians and Iraqi Indians. Many Iraqis used to go to India to do business. So he started, Chacham Sassoon, the rich guy, started to have dreams that his father comes to him in a dream and say, go to Shanghai and build a big building with 300 seats. Yeshiva. And he couldn't understand what kind of a dream. There's now one Jew in Shanghai. I've got to go to build $10 million yeshiva now in Shanghai. Nobody is there. He has the money, but he doesn't understand the dream. But you know, the dream that repeats constantly cannot ignore forever. So he realized that it cannot be my father keep telling me that. I'm going and I'm doing it. Whatever happened, happened. He built it, and I think for 10 years it was vacant, empty, full of dust. For 10 years. Then the Nazis started to close the borders of Europe more and more and more. And the yeshiva of Mir, 300 students exactly, they got a visa to escape to Shanghai. And the Goyim made one rail track for trains that was only used once. There was that train that took them from there. They got all the way to Shanghai, and that train never ever used. And they got over there, and they found a building waiting for them. And then later, after all the problems in the war, they came to America. You can see them right here in Brooklyn. And to Israel. It's the biggest yeshiva in the world. You have about 5,000-6,000 in Yerushalayim. And you have in Brooklyn, I don't know, a few hundreds or maybe a few thousand. It's maybe 10,000 people that came from this miracle. So really, the Goyim who made this truck, if they would not make the truck, how would they get there? They'll be forced to stay there and die. The whole idea, yeah, they served, they did what they did. But the question is, what was in their mind when they're doing it? So now listen good. It says like this. The Gemara say, Amru lefanav. So the Goyim would answer to Hashem. Same Gemara. Okay, God, we understand what you're saying. We did not have the right intention when we made the roads and the bridges. We didn't have in mind we are serving the Jews. But technically, we did serve the Jews. Yeah, that was your wish. You moved us around. In the end, we did what you wanted. Why don't you give us reward? So, they answer to Hashem, okay, you know what? Give us another chance. You know how the kids come, Abba, give me one more chance. One more chance. Okay, give us one mitzvah and we'll do it. Give us one mitzvah. Tell us in advance what's going to be this mitzvah, that we should have the right mind that this time we'll do it for the sake of heaven. Because we know in advance. Amar lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem would say, mitzvah kala yesh li. I have a light mitzvah, easy mitzvah. No? V'sukkah shma. It's called sukkah. Lechu v'asu ota. Go make sukkah. There's another opinion in the Gemara that Hashem also told them, mitzvah kala she'en ba chisron kis. And it doesn't cost money. You don't have to invest. Today, if Hashem would say it today, the last I've seen the prices of the Sukkot, you need a mortgage to buy a sukkah. $4,000 sukkah, you know. There's some places in America to build a whole apartment costs less than sukkah. And I'm not exaggerating. I went one time to give a lecture in Philadelphia. So I got to a major road there. I think there's some train track there next to the safari, the zoo. If you know what area I'm talking about. I've seen a big pole, a sign. Apartment, 3 bedrooms, $15,000. The whole apartment. Which means if it was 1 bedroom, it was the price of a sukkah. But in the old days, how do you make sukkah? You go to the trees, you take an axe. Not everyone had a tie and a nice suit. People used to work hard. Chop some trees, cut them, and make sukkah. What do you think? So Hashem said to them, it's an easy mitzvah, very easy to do it, doesn't cost so much money. Go and do it. And right away, the Goyim are happy, they run to do this mitzvah to prove that they are capable of doing something for the sake of heaven. And Hashem make the hardest day in history. Remember, there was one hot day in history. The hottest day in history so far is when? Who knows? Avraham Avinu in the 3rd days of his circumcision. Avraham Avinu. In the 3rd day, which is the hardest feeling after the circumcision, what happened? Avraham runs to look for guests. Hashem made it 500 degrees. No one is outside, but still anyway, he looked around. Where can I find guests? So this day will be just as hot. And the Goyim will start kicking the sukkah. You know, boom, they kick the sukkah. What is this?
What is it?
Imagine Bill Gates now. Comes out of his mansion. You know, he brings 5 servants. Build me that, build me that. I don't know how his sukkah is going to look. Probably better than my house. The way they're going to build the sukkah. One way or the other, it's going to be too hot. Hard to put air conditioning in sukkah, you know, because you need the schach to be open. So they kick it. And Hashem sitting and laughing at them. This is it. Now I want to ask you a question. What is the problem? Hashem gave them, first of all, why Hashem gave them mitzvah sukkah? From all the 613 mitzvot, he picked up this mitzvah of sukkah. That's question number 1. Question number 2, the Torah says, mitztaer patur min sukkah. If you cannot enjoy sitting in a sukkah because it's too hot or too cold, or there's flies or bad smell or all kinds of other problems, you are dismissed from the sukkah. Patur, you don't have to do it. And if you do it, if it's raining, let's say, pouring rain, and he sits and the rain is dripping into his soup, and his wife says, Moshe, come inside. No, I'll prove Hashem I love him, I don't care. What the Torah said, that's a fool. That's the Shulchan Aruch say. שוטה זה, מה? Not normal. So what does Hashem want from the goyim? They had a good point. It's not fair. You give them mitzvah, be fair. Why are you making it 500 degrees? And plus, the reason they didn't keep it, because the Torah said not to keep it, if you mitztair. So what's the complaint? What, Hashem is not fair? You know anyone more fair than Hashem in any court in the world somewhere? A president, a politician, a rabbi? Do you think anyone is more fair than Hashem? אני אל האמת והצדק, אשר לא יישא פנים ולא ייקח שוחד. It's declaration in the Torah. No one is more right and fair than me. No one can bribe me. לא נושא פנים. I don't take one side from the other. It's all based on justice. There will be goyim that have a share to the world to come, and there are Jews who don't have share to the world to come. It's all based on what you do, no discrimination. So why Hashem did this to them? Why they missing the opportunity? Not because they left the sukkah, because they kicked the sukkah. When a Jew walks inside the house, when it's raining or when it's so hot or when it's so cold, he almost has tears in his eyes. Finally, once a year, we have an opportunity to sit in a sukkah, and now raining, he eats his heart, if you know the feeling. He's mamash, all this preparation, and now we cannot enjoy in a sukkah. He's not happy. If he's happy, ishtabach shemo rain. Finally, I go back to my $5,000 mattress. That's not a tzaddik. But still, it doesn't answer the question. But wait, patience, a little bit patience. We have to understand why Hashem gave them this mitzvah. Now pay attention very carefully to what I said. They will teach us a lot about life. There are mitzvot. There are two kinds of mitzvot in life. Two kinds of commandments. One kind, al yedei etzem asiyat mitzvah. Once a person does the mitzvah, it's only an addition to the actual mitzvah. I will explain soon. The main thing in the mitzvah is to do the actual mitzvah. For instance, you put tefillin. You put it on your hand, you tie it. If you don't move your hand, you don't do something physical, you're not going to be able to do the mitzvah. You shake lulav. The actual action proves what you are planning to do. You don't need to declare what's in your mind. Everybody see. Okay. But there are some commandments that the actual doing does not create a mitzvah. Only the mind attachment will create a mitzvah. Let me give you an example. A person wants to eat now lunch. 2 o'clock, he wants to sit and eat lunch. Mitzvah or no? He wants to eat lunch. If not, he'll die. He has to eat, no? He sits and eats. It's mitzvah, or it's a sin, or it's nothing. Not this and not that. What is it? I'm asking, is it in the Taryag mitzvot? In the 613 mitzvot of the Torah, does it say to eat lunch? No. Does it say you have to eat? Once a year you have to eat matzah. Yes. Based on the Torah, we'll starve. Shabbat, the Rabbanan, Baruch Hashem had mercy on us, 3 segudot. No? Not everyone is Baba Sali fasting from Shabbat to Shabbat and weight 45 kilo. The answer is, depend what's on your mind when you eat. If when you sit and eat, you say, Hashem, I'm eating that I will have the strength and the energy to do your mitzvot. I'll be able to function. That's why I need food. I need nutrition. I need vitamins. Otherwise, the soul can only function in a healthy body. The body is not functioning. The soul is limited. It's not functional, the soul. Soul can only function only when the body can function. So, someone is not healthy, cannot be tzaddik. He can only lay in bed connected to machines, cannot be tzaddik. Maybe he's not rasha, but tzaddik he cannot be. Ena ma'aretz chasid, and at the same time a person that is disabled cannot be tzaddik, cannot do any mitzvot. No tefillin, no tefillah, no talit, no kiddush, no nothing. 99% of what he has to do, he can do. He's laying in a hospital. Only thing he can do is think about Hashem, and if he remembers some Mizmorei Teilim to say by heart. That's it. But any other mitzvah he can keep. So the answer is like this. When a person eats and he's thinking, הרי אני אוכל לשם שמיים, I'm eating for the sake of heaven, that I'll have the strength to be a servant of Hashem. Every bite is mitzvah. Mitzvah from the Torah. Why? You must have הכשר mitzvah. Same thing to build sukkah. To build sukkah it's mitzvah? No. To sit in a sukkah it's mitzvah. But when a person builds sukkah and say, I'm going to prepare the mitzvah of yeshiva b'sukkah right now by building the sukkah, it becomes a mitzvah from now already. Until they had the question if you have to say Shehecheyanu when you build it or not. What do you mean? It's not mitzvah. How do you have a question if you have to say Shehecheyanu when you build it or not? The answer is we make in a sukkah and we have in mind also for building the sukkah. So it says like this. When a person does something that it's action, with or without the intention, the action already proves what's in his mind. But some actions are not mitzvah by itself. It will only become mitzvah if you attach the right thoughts into that act. Without the thought, it's nothing. Either it's a sin or it's nothing, but mitzvah it's not. So think about it now. What I just told you worth billions, especially for the young here. Why? In the next 40, 50 years, every time you sit to eat, all you have to do is thinking, Hashem, I'm eating lichvodcha, not for my desire, not for the delicious taste. No. Why do I eat? I eat that I'll be able to function. That's already become mitzvah from the Torah. That's the Ramchal, the Rambam, the greatest people in history wrote it. No. So now it says like this. The Ramchal writes, ההנהגה בעבודת השם מתחלקת לשני חלקים. The ideology, the way in following the instruction of Hashem can be divided to two categories. One is במה שיעשה מפני שצווה בו. One thing is what you do because Hashem commanded you. And the other one is because you, and this one that Hashem commanded you, you must do. You have no choice. You have to do because Hashem wanted you to do it. But the second category is the usage of the human being, of the world of God to his own benefit. Not physical, spiritual. I'm using the world of Hashem for my own advantage. Not for my desires. For my advantage. You know the difference between my desire and my advantage? Sometimes the kids come and say, Abba, I want a candy. I want ice cream. So the father says, no, not today. I need it. They scream, I need it. On the floor, it's rolling. So what's the answer should be? You don't need it, son. You want it. You don't need it. You want it. There's a difference. Many things we say, I need it, I can't live without it. You don't need it, you fool. You just want it because you're full of desires and full of lies. Not because you need it. How many people say, you know how healthy is this food? It has this vitamin and this vitamin. Connect them to a lie detector, the machine will break. You only eat it for the delicious sweet taste. He cares about the vitamins? Nothing, baloney. So it says like this, שלא יהיה, אלא ראוי לבריאות הגוף וקיום חיותו על הצד הטוב ביותר. Only for one purpose, I have to be extra healthy, that I'll be able to serve Hashem better. ולא כפי נטיית החומר ותשוקתו למותרות. Not the actual physical, normal desire of a human being to the material lifestyle. That's a trap. That's not a mitzvah. It's a trap, like we all do. Why we all overweight? Almost all of us. Why? We have a lot of excuses. I gave 7 births. I just gave birth. I just this. I just that. Bottom line, no one's mouth is resting. That's the bottom line. Believe me, I don't eat anything. I don't know why I'm not losing weight. All days in a gym, like this, and you only gain weight. Of course, eat 5,000 calories a day. How much the gym's gonna burn? You know? Baruch Hashem, they have kosher gym.
הנה.
הכנת כבר תרופה למכה. You see, when the goyim in Duracell made the batteries, they promise you will never die. You can't even survive 1 hour in a lecture. So, just before we finish, because I know it should not be a long lecture, let me answer this question and we'll finish. It says like this, לעתיד לבוא, in the future to come, the goyim would say, now when we understand the purpose of the creation was for the nation of Israel, that they should sit and learn Torah, technically everything we did was for their sake. Hashem say, okay, let me test you in mitzvat sukkah. Why? Hashem gives them the mitzvah of sukkah because even without any intention, you make a mitzvah when you sit in a sukkah. This is the only mitzvah that every organ in your body participate in the mitzvah without doing anything. Sitting on a chair, walking, standing, sitting, laying, like you do in a house, like you do in the street. All you have to do is stand here. And it's already a mitzvah. The Gaon Mivilna didn't come out of the sukkah the whole week. Maybe except to the bathroom. That's it. He didn't leave the sukkah. Ma, Ananei Kavod, the spirit of Hashem above me and I'm going to go anywhere else? How can I leave the sukkah? I'll give an example what I mean. There's different kinds of sacrifices. There's Korban Olah and there's Korban Shlamim. What's the difference? The Torah says like this, Tzav et Aaron ve'et banav le'emor. Order Aaron and his children to say, Zot Torah ha'olah. This is the instructions of the sacrifice that called Olah. No? It's in Vayikra 6. Leviticus 6, verse 2. Rashi writes, En tzav ela leshon ziruz. Miyad uledorot. Every time the Torah said the word tzav, this language means hurry up. Don't hesitate. Rush. I want you to rush. I want your children to rush. And all the Kohanim in the future, when it comes to this mitzvah, run to do it. No, what's to do? The Gemara says, now we have to understand why over here Hashem used the word rush. I'm rushing you. Wake up, my son. Wake up, my Kohen son. Why wake up? Why in other mitzvot, other sacrifices, you don't say wake up? Only in Korban Olah, Tzav. Why? The answer is, what's the difference between Korban Olah and Korban Shlamim? Korban Shlamim, when a person brings it to Bet HaMikdash, most of it he gets to eat. If the Korban costs, let's say, $300, $250 come to his stomach. Only few internal parts are burned on the Mizbeach, and the rest, eat. Shish kebab. Enjoy. So no one hesitate. Why? It doesn't cost me money almost. Easy, cheap mitzvah. So everyone does it anyway. Why? Because I'm benefiting from that. At Korban Olah, nothing comes back to you. No refund. Apply for refund. No IRS refund. Whatever you give is gone. Korban Olah, everything go l'shamayim, everything gets burned on a mizbeach. Since nothing comes back, Hashem needed to rush them. Hey, my son, don't hesitate. It's expensive, but it's for the sake of heaven. Be happy to give. The goyim, the Gemara say, if a goy wants to bring a sacrifice to Bet HaMikdash, It says like this. עקום, לגויים, נודרים ונודבים עולות אבל לא שלמים. If they want to make a vow to bring a sacrifice to בית המקדש of Hashem, it says, כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים. My house is a house of prayers to all the nations. If a guy wants to bring a korban to the Kohen to sacrifice, you can accept from him. Mechalel Shabbat, you're not allowed to accept from him any korban, nothing. He had a baby girl, he wants to bring a thank you to Hashem, not allowed to take from him. Read in the Rambam. En mekablim min ha-meshumad hazeh korban, the Rambam writes. But Bruce Lee from China, he just brought a goat. 5 minutes ago he bowed down to his foolish idol. And 2 minutes later he brought a goat and he said to the Kohen, Moshe Cohen, sacrifice this to your God. Accept it from this Chinese, from this Thailandi, whatever he is, Indian. 2 minutes ago he kissed the cow. Now he brings something korban. So he says, listen good, he says, only you accept from him olot, but not shlamim. You only accept the kind of korban that everything is burned and goes to Hashem. No refund. For the goyim, discrimination. No shish kebab for Ahmed and Mustafa. Everything for Hashem. Why? Nothing in the Torah is coincidence. The answer is, listen good, the way the goyim understand serving God, there's only one understanding. This was written before Christianity started. That's how sweet it is. Before Christianity started, this was written 2,000 years ago. It says like this. A goy, when he serves Hashem, he doesn't understand that a part of serving Hashem is enjoying this world. You must suffer to serve Hashem. That's why the Christians say the priest cannot get married, cannot enjoy a woman. Cannot. It's against the law. That's why intimate relation by the Christians is a despicable thing, when in the Torah it's the holiest thing. That's why they only understand ta'aniyot and sigufim, which somehow penetrated to Judaism, unfortunately, too much. That many people follow this way. But that's not the way of Hashem, the opposite. Hashem says, enjoy the world. I gave you the world to enjoy. עתיד אדם לתן דין וחשבון על מה שראתה עינו ולא אכל. You saw a new fruit, something that you never tasted, or something like that, and you don't eat, it's insulting Hashem. Enjoy. Show appreciation. Enjoy the food. ושמחת בחגיך, אין שמחה אלא בבשר ויין. You don't eat wine and drink, you don't drink wine and eat meat. It doesn't consider happiness. What kind of religion is that? You eat, you drink, you sleep, and you get an endless eternal reward? The goyim cannot understand it's possible. My friend, you want to be righteous goy? You must suffer for God. Later they invented a way out when they saw the suffering is a little bit painful. JC is suffering for all of us. The suffering is over. They found a new trick. JC is suffering for. The Torah says, Ish bechet'o yumat. Everyone has to pay for his own sins. They go and say, we have a one-way solution. Here, we invent a figure. JC, here, JC, no problem. He took all the suffering, now we can celebrate. Once in a while, they give $50 to the father. Confession, Baruch Hashem. Shalom aleich nafshi. But this was written before. Listen good. So it says like this. If a goy brings a korban, whatever he say, I want shlamim, I want this, don't even pay attention. Automatically convert it to korban olah. Why? That's what he meant. He doesn't understand how 10% of my sacrifice will go to God, 90% to my stomach, and it's considered a mitzvah. But there's one more thing the Gemara says about the psychology of the goyim. When a goy does mitzvah, he has one thing in his mind. What will I gain from this mitzvah? Which means, if you come to them and say, when they do it, God would come and say to him, hey, Chris, I'm sorry to disappoint you, nothing would come to you from this mitzvah, no reward. Most of them will kick it right away. The Gemara says, if a Jew say, this donation is that my son will be healthy, and chas v'shalom, the boy died, it's still a mitzvah. What do you mean? He just said, I'm giving it only because I want my son to be healthy. And it didn't help. The Jew's still happy the money went to mitzvah and not. Don't attack me. I know today the world is different than 2,000, 3,000 years ago. I know today everything is... Lechol klal yesh yotze min haklal. I've met myself goyim that 100% for the sake of heaven. And sometimes when they don't have money, I say to them, well, you're going to get the reward of saving souls. They say, I don't care about the reward. I just want Jews to come back to their Father in heaven. I'm happy. Maybe they're Jewish and they don't know. I don't know. Only Hashem knows who's a Jew, who's not. And also there's an exception to the rule. And also, it's not I'm not an indication, because if a goy can stand me, it's for sure a righteous goy. Because most Jews cannot stand me. If a goy can stand me for telling him such hard truth in his face, it has to be in a high level. What? I intimidate him. I talk about his nonsense in Christianity and this and that, and he still come and say, thank you for telling me the truth in my face as it is. It has to be somebody. But I'm not an indication. You have 7 billion out there. Only Hashem knows what he's talking about. So it says like this. האומר סלע זה לצדקה, this coin for tzedakah, על מנת שיחיה בני, that I will have, my son would live, and I will have a share to the world to come, הרי זה צדיק גמור. Even though he had a selfish reason, he wants his son to be healthy. It's like bribing. Here, Hashem, I'm giving for you to help my son. Here, I'm giving that you give me עולם הבא. What's the problem? דוד המלך רודת in תהילים, שמרתי מצוותיך, על השכר אשר צפנת ליראך. Part of the reason why I keep mitzvot, King David wrote, is because of the huge reward you promised to your followers. It's not a shame. Why? I deserve it. I worked for it. But that's the only reason it's a problem. I only do it. I have people like this. Believe me, I only keep mitzvot because I'm afraid of the punishment. Nothing else. If Hashem tell me tomorrow, no punishment for you, right away I become Chiloni. Well, no people like this. Is this a high level or low level? According to the Rambam, is a very low level, which usually you find by women and children. Because they don't learn Torah all day in a high level. So, they understand this is the way. I do this, Hashem will punish me. I do this, Hashem will reward me. People in a high level of Torah, they don't do these calculations anymore. They should already feel, I desire to serve Hashem. With reward, without reward, with punishment, without. But I tell you, I wish all of us will be in this level. If every Jew in the world will be in this level that is afraid to make a sin because he's afraid of the punishment, that's already showing he believes in Hashem and in the Torah. All Jews in the world believe in Hashem in the Torah? The last I checked, the answer is no. So if everyone would be in a level of women and children, like the Rambam call it, Mashiach would be here already 1,000 years ago. Children, Mashiach would come. He's not coming now. Why? People argue with you if Hashem exists or not. This is the level we got to. They see a brilliant world, everything organized, and still asking foolish questions. So it says like this. עקום איננו נותן לקדוש ברוך הוא רק כמטרה למען עשיית נחת רוח ליוצרו. They don't have in their ideology, I'm only serving Hashem to make him happy, nothing to do with me. Nothing for me, reward, punishment, he loves me, he hates me. No. I only want to do it because I know Hashem will be happy. They don't have this in their ideology. It's not their fault. They were not raised like this. They didn't hear the voice of God. They didn't think deeply in the Torah all their life. כל נתינתו למען שיקבל אחר כך שכר. Everything is for what's in it for me. So if Hashem would not give him anything, he begins to ask questions later on. I did this and I did that, and what came out for me? What came for me? What came for me? But the Jew says, or at least supposed to say, to be on the safe side, what's the problem? Hashem didn't give me anything. I was able to serve Hashem another hour in my life. Baruch Hashem. Amaril Midiskin had an aunt. He heard that she hospitalized in a hospital connected to machine. She cannot move from bed. She can't even go to the bathroom, so they connect her to a bag. Horrible style. What kind of life is this? And the hospitals of those days were not nice like some of the hospitals today. I don't have to tell you in the old days how it was. No electric, dirty, dark. So he heard that she's in the hospital. One day he was in the area. I said, let me do mitzvah bikur cholim. It's my aunt. Usually a man is not allowed to visit a woman in a hospital. Unless if she's his mother, grandmother, in this case an aunt. She needed bracha. He went to visit his aunt. So she told him, I'm so happy you came. You revived me. So she asked him, give me a bracha. So he told her, what do you want me to bless you for? She said that I should live long life. So he told her, I'm sorry for asking. Who wants to live life like this? Who wants to live such a life? To be in a hospital all your life, you can't move from the bed and you can't even get up for the bathroom, and the smell in the room from the bags over there. So she looked at him with a look. She told him, shame on you, the biggest rabbi in the world. She said, his aunt, shame on you. Every 2 weeks, the nurse is changing the bag. There was a big bag full of urine. Every 2 weeks, the nurse take the old bag and put an empty bag, which gives me 2 hours that I'm able to pray and read Tehillim for Hashem, and you're asking me why I want to live? Why? When it stinks, it's a bathroom. You're not allowed to read Tehillim in a bathroom when the bathroom is around you. But once every 2 weeks, 2 hours, which means 4 hours a month, she has an opportunity to read Tehillim, and 29 days and 20 hours she suffered. 29 days and 20 hours. 4 hours she read Tehillim, which some of us translate Tehillim as suffering. Oh, עכשיו to read Tehillim. Another Jew fell from building a sukkah. Another, Tehillim, שיר למעלות. Esainai la'arim, what's my stock is doing? Oh, now I really have a reason to read Tehillim. The market crash. But she was in a level to understand every minute to praise Hashem. It's already such an achievement. No words to describe. And we'll finish with the last thing for today. The Torah says, "Basukot teshvu shivat yamim." You sit in a sukkah for 7 days. The prophet Yeshayahu, Isaiah say, chapter 4, verse 6, "V'sukkah tiyeh letzel yomam." The sukkah will be a protection, a daily protection. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Levi, kol mi shemkayem mitzvat sukkah ba'olam hazeh, everyone who keep the mitzvah of sukkah in this world, אומר הקדוש ברוך הוא קיים מצוות סוכה, אני מסיר עליו מחמתי ליום הבא. There's a big secret here. In order for the sukkah to be kosher, תפילה חייבת להיות מרובה מחמתה. The shed in a sukkah has to be more than the sun. So if the sukkah is a square of 12 by 12, at least more than that, look at the floor, most of it has to be shed, not most of it light. If you see it's too sunny in the sukkah, that means the schach is not covering enough. You have to add more. And plus, it cannot be under a tree or under a building, because the schach, the roof of the sukkah, it's the only one who allows to give shed to the sukkah, because it's a memory of the clouds that Hashem gave us when we came out of Egypt that protected us from the sun. That's why only the roof of the sukkah should give the shade. If buildings or trees or anything or terrace is above the sukkah is not kosher. You wasted your whole 7 days. It has to be kosher. Okay, no. Why it's so important to get safe from the sun? Some people love the sun. They go sit on the beach 12 hours every day for the sun. If that's their fun, what's the problem? No, they have the sukkah. They have a little bit bamboos on the top. They remember the clouds. And they enjoy the sun. What's the problem? It's very interesting. In the Lashon Kodesh, in the language of Hashem, it's a divine language. One word means two things. Chama, chamata, means her son. And also chama means the anger of God in a judgment day. So it says like this. The prophet wrote, וסוכה תהיה לצל יומם, אמר רבי לוי, כל מי שמקיים מצוות סוכה בעולם הזה, everyone who has מצוות סוכה in this world, Hashem promised, he kept the mitzvah of sukkah, אני מסיר, מסיך means making a shed, מסיך עליו מחמתי ליום הדין. When the final judgment day will come, I will protect this person that keep the mitzvah of sukkah from the day of anger, from the day of chema. Just like the shed in his lifetime protected him from the chama, from the sun, and the judgment of Hashem, same word. That's the secret of this mitzvah. That's why the Gaon Mivilna didn't want to even go out 1 minute out of the sukkah. You bring the nice plates, everything in a sukkah. Why? This is an honor to be in a sukkah. An honor. It's not chas v'shalom. Yes, it reminds us that we're not going to be in this world forever. You love your house too much. 5 years to decorate. $8 million and they're not happy. That's not the purpose of life. Life is temporary. It's the blink of the eye. Before you finish decorating 1 house, second, fifth, 10, 5 cars, 3 cars, before you realize life is like this. And it's over. What's 89 years compared to eternity? Blink of the eye. The Gemara says, העולם הזה כהרף עין. Heref means a rest. This world is like the rest of the eye. When the eye is resting. How many times the eye rests per minute? Every 6 to 8 seconds, you blink. Windshield wiper. Cleans the dust, cleans, all kinds of allergies. You don't even realize. Did you ever pay attention that you're blinking? Imagine you blink in a slow motion when you drive. Like this. It closes for 5 seconds and opens. Slow motion. You find yourself, I don't know where. Sodom and Gomorrah down the hill. It has to be fast. That's what the analogy that Chazal used. This world, it's over. So why do you care so much? What kind of suit? What kind of a tie? Let me see the watch. Doesn't sleep for 3 days. Wow, no watch. Before you realize you come to the world naked. What did you bring with me? That's what the Torah says, Shloshet HaRegalim. When you come to see me, it says, Kol Zachor, every male born from Bar Mitzvah and older has to come see me. Lo Yera'eh Panai Rekam. Don't come empty-handed to see me. The secret here, when you come to your judgment day after 120 years, make sure you don't come empty-handed. Come with lots of Torah and lots of chesed. If you come with houses, with buildings, with beautiful cars and Persian rugs, it's empty-handed, my friend. If you come with Torah and Maasim Tovim, you use the money for the right things, right here on the table. See? That's right thing. Every piece of CD, $1. Every piece of CD, 30 hours of Torah. 30 hours of Torah. You understand what 30 hours of Torah is? A Jew received 30 hours of Torah. And I speak fast, Baruch Hashem. So I push more words in a minute. Chafetz Chaim calculated 200. minutes per 200 words per minute. Sometimes I do more. It's bonus. Buy one, get 1.5 free. So let's go by his calculation. Chafetz Chaim maybe was speaking slow. So 200 words, 5 letters per word. It's 1,000 mitzvot per minute. How much is an hour? 60,000. 60,000 multiplied by 30, how much? 1.8 million mitzvot for $1. And now you tell me, if from the time of Adam until this second, you found a better investment in history. You tell me. My email is rabbimizrachi@gmail.com. Everyone should have Chag Sameach. Thank you, Rabbi. Every event here is great.
Thank you very much.